Roughly 4 years ago, Audi introduced the brand's first four-door electric sedan to the marketplace called the e-tron GT. Now, as good as the e-tron GT was, that vehicle wasn't really designed to be a mainstream car because it had Audi R8 supercar vibes, and it was built off of the excellent Porsche Taycan architecture. Well, for 2025, Audi is looking to appeal to a more mainstream audience with the introduction of this vehicle. This is the first ever Audi A6 e-tron. It's roughly the same size as the e-tron GT. Because it's built off of their new PPE platform, this vehicle runs off of the very quick charging 800-volt architecture, offers nearly 400 miles of all-electric range, and on this Quattro model, nearly 500 horsepower from its dual electric motors. So the big question I want to answer, for those of you who have had your eye on a four-door electric Audi sedan, but you also wanted something that was a lot more practical and a lot more affordable, has the brand new Audi A6 e-tron stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the all-new styling for this first ever A6 e-tron, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys, does this vehicle have a front trunk storage space? And this is where, thankfully, because it's built on that new PPE architecture, there is a front trunk storage space, although it is a little bit on the small side when you compare it to some of its rivals. Now, as you can see underneath the hood, you're going to find just under maybe 1 cubic feet of storage space. So it's not a lot, but it's certainly a good place to put maybe the mobile charger or put some takeout that you don't want to be stinking up the cabin. But since we're underneath here, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain specs. Now, here in America, the e-tron GT is also the first Audi sedan that's available as a rear drive model. That's right, you can get this vehicle with just a single motor rear wheel drive. However, this model that I'm showing you has the Quattro dual motor system for an extra $2,000. They pull their power from a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, which around 94.4 is usable. And this model with its dual motor system offers up to 456 horsepower. That's when you have it in launch control. However, 422 horsepower is available all the time. Now, technically, Audi doesn't quote a torque figure, and that's because the two electric motors, front and rear, achieve their torque outputs at different stages in the RPM range. However, if you add the two numbers up, you get around 631 pound-feet of torque, which is the same torque as the S6 model. Remember, the S6 e-tron, which I tested about a month ago, offers nearly 100 more horsepower than this vehicle at up to 543. 496 total is available all the time, but this model is still no slouch at up to 456 horsepower, which Audi claims is good for 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. It has a 1-speed automatic transmission with their electronic Quattro all-wheel drive system, obviously putting the power down. Top speed for this vehicle should be just under 130 miles an hour, and as this car sits, it's certainly no lightweight. It weighs in at just over 5,100 pounds. Keep in mind the rear drive model will help you lose around 200 pounds of additional weight. The S6 that I tested a couple months ago weighed in at around 100 pounds more, so the weight is heavy, but it's pretty much right in check with a lot of its competitors. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the exterior styling. Now, Audi has definitely been on a mission to completely, I guess, rejuvenate their models. They've been busy this year. This is like, I lost count of which number Audi I've tested this year, but the reality is they have a lot of new models to test, which is why I'm testing out another Audi vehicle, even though we just had the S6. This is the more mainstream A6. You can see it's painted in plasma blue, and this is also the first low floor version of their PPE architecture. As you can see, the hood is very wide and pronounced with some bulging fenders. You have this new trendy look of the divorced headlight module here, which has the daytime running light at the top portion with this separate piece for the LED low and high beams. You can actually change the light signature on these headlights with up to 8 different styles. That's standard when you guys go for the prestige trim. And you can see it has sequential turn signals. There's also all-weather fog lights, but no separate fog lights in the housing. You can see there's a functional opening there. And I don't particularly love how this area here is kind of gloss black with the body color area. You can see the single frame grille is closed off. It's got the new Audi logo, although I'm surprised those logos don't illuminate like they do at the rear. You can see the front camera system is included with the parking sensors and Audi's adaptive cruise with the radar sensors and whatnot. You can see the look of this car. I personally don't like this trendy divorced headlight look, especially on an Audi. I just don't think it fits the design aesthetic of an Audi. And the company has a new gas version of the A6, which I'll be driving in January, that has a more traditional headlight style. And I think that Audi should have just gone with that look on all their models as opposed to this divorced look that you find also on the Q6 e-tron. Now, as you move around to the side profile, you can see this is a mid-size electric sedan, so it competes with vehicles like the BMW i5, the Mercedes-Benz EQE, the Tesla Model S, and the Lucid Air. At 194 inches long with a 116-inch long wheelbase, this vehicle is also 75.5 inches wide. The gas-powered A6 which is also coming to the US, is roughly around an inch or 1.8 inches longer, but the A6 gas has a slightly shorter wheelbase. It's also not quite as wide as the electric model. Now you can see my test car has an upgraded 20-inch alloy wheel with a 5-spoke design with a glossy machine finish with some great inner pockets. It's wrapped on a 235 by 45 R20 Pirelli P0 all-season tire at the front. You have a slightly fatter 265 at the rear. With the Quattro, or with the Prestige trim, you also get their adaptive air suspension as standard. And I also really appreciate the full paint finish with some black accents here with the e-tron badge. You can really see that low floor design creates, again, kind of a low slung area along the side, which shows off that the battery sits nice and low because this is built on a dedicated EV architecture. And then you can see, sadly, unlike the Q6 e-tron SUV, which has an opening panoramic roof, this roof, as you can see, is just glass. It has these panels that you can frost and defrost at the push of a button. And you also have power folding mirrors with integrated turn signals. You have cameras, of course, throughout. These flush door handles, which are for aerodynamics. And then you can see, like other Audi products, it has their model designation at the bottom of the B pillar there. Now, as I back away from the vehicle here, you can really see this is probably more my favorite angle of the car. From back here, I think the car looks really good from this angle, and this is also one of the slipperiest Audis that they've ever produced with a 0.23 coefficient of drag. So that's one of the reasons why the efficiency is so good on this car. You can see if you push that open, that reveals the charge port door, and the A6 e-tron actually has two. So on this side, which mine's been getting stuck like that for some reason, you have the CCS combo with the J7712. This basically allows you to DC fast charge this vehicle at up to 350 kilowatts, allowing you to go from 10 to 80% in under 20 minutes, which is pretty impressive. This model that I'm showing you here will go up to 333 miles of range, 377 if you guys go for an aero package that will help to improve the range. Up to 392, again, is on the rear drive with that aero package. Sadly, this vehicle doesn't have the NACS port, but you can certainly get an adapter for it, and you can go to Tesla superchargers, so that's nice. If you go to the other side, which this power door is honestly pretty finicky, and like you guys saw, it got stuck. When you go to the other side over here, you can see there's basically just the J1772 plug. You can't actually open two of them at the same time. And this vehicle has an 11 kilowatt onboard charger. Factor in roughly 10 to 11 hours to charge this vehicle on a level 2 at your home. Remember, up to 333 miles of range. Again, that door is kind of finicky. Now, looking at the rear of the vehicle, you can see the rear, I think, is definitely better looking versus the front. It has a traditional Audi look here, but I really love the illuminated Audi 4-ring logos here. I really kind of was hoping that they would carry that look from the rear onto the front with the illuminated logos. You can see the taillights have that trendy full LED light bar. You have these LED taillights, which you can also change the style of the LEDs back here. They're linked to the front headlight light signature, so that's kind of a nice touch. You've got the new Audi A6 badging here, which is blacked out with this kind of random Quattro badge. I think it kind of doesn't really match the A6 badge. It seems like Audi's trying to, a little confused on the type of font they want to use. And then you can see this is an S6, so you don't have quite as an aggressive rear diffuser, but it's certainly a clean look. It looks wide. And what I like about this car is it only comes as a sportback, which means it looks like a sedan, but it's actually a hatchback. When you open up the power tailgate, you can see it reveals around 26 cubic feet of storage space, which is certainly a very usable amount. There's also some storage off to the side here. If you look underneath the floor here, there's a little bit of underfloor storage, but that's where you're going to find your sub and your fix-a-flat kit and the mobile charger. Of course, if you fold the seats down, which Audi doesn't let you do from back here, you have to go off to the side of the vehicle. It expands the cargo to just under 40 cubic feet of storage space, which is a very healthy amount. Audi claims you can actually fit items up to 6 foot 2 inches long with the seats folded, but just keep in mind, if you need more space, the Q6 e-tron, which is built off of the same architecture, is going to roughly offer 20 more cubic feet of space, and it also offers a taller storage space because it's an SUV. Now, moving on from the exterior styling of the new A6 e-tron, let's go ahead and take a look at the interior, because Audi was on a mission to completely revitalize their interior in terms of tech. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is Audi's current intelligent access key. It's a nice size key, and it's also a good evolution of the old key, although I will say that the plastic materials on it feel a little bit cheaper. I also don't like how the Audi logo here is no longer metallic. That's something that people have complained about with their new design. But you can see it has your usual buttons here for lock or unlock, lock, power liftgate, and then panic. No remote start from the fob, but I believe if you're the owner of the vehicle, you can actually do that from your smartphone if you want to start the vehicle up. Now, as you can see, approaching the door handle, which is that flush style, but it doesn't retract like some competitors. You touch this area here, That will lock the doors for you. It produces that signature chirp. The mirrors will fold in. When you want to unlock the car, just come in here and there's a little pressure pad on the inside there. Push that pressure pad and that will unlock the door for you. This vehicle does not have an auto walkaway lock or unlock feature like some of its rivals. Now looking at the interior, you can see the plasma blue exterior, which actually does have a metallic fleck in it, is complemented nicely by this pearl beige upgraded ventilated seats. Which is part of the warm weather package. These are heated and ventilated, and they adjust in 14 different ways. Sadly, the massage feature from the S6 model is not present on the A6. So keep in mind the S6 includes a massaging seat, although I will say the newer massage feature on Audi models isn't as good as the older massage feature that I've tested on some of the older Audi products. But I will say that this pearl beige looks nice. And you also have, of course, their digital stage cockpit. The door panel, you can see this upper portion has a slightly padded, soft touch injection molded plastic. There's real wood trim here, which looks good with the pearl beige leather on the door panel. As you can see, there's a piano black plastic trim here for your two-person memory seats and adjusting your headlight controls, along with your adjusting the fog lights and the door locks and the mirror controls. Your window switches are one touch for all four. They have that satisfying click feel that you associate with an Audi. You can see the door handle is also aluminum. I don't love the piano black here, and I also don't like how there's this big empty area here where there should be some buttons. I almost think that the memory seat function should have been here as opposed to here. Down here it is hard touch plastic, so some of the materials on the door panel are a little bit cheap, but I also appreciate how there's actual wood here and the ambient lighting looks pretty good at night on the door panels as well. Now getting inside, this vehicle again is a typical sedan, so you have a pretty low step-in height. As I shut the door, you can see the door has a very solid sounding thunk, and because we have the Prestige model, it actually includes a soft close feature. So that's included with the Prestige package. That's part of the extra $6,000 that you paid. But as you can see, all versions of the A6 e-tron will come with their digital stage cockpit. The Prestige model includes this separate passenger screen, which is just under 11 inches. That to me is a little bit more of a gimmick, but I will say that Audi's passenger screen allows you to play games. You can pull up a web browser. It's very intricate and it's almost like an extension of a smartphone in the dash, but I feel like most people just use their smartphones. But as you can see, with their digital stage cockpit, it's comprised of two screens here. You've got a 12-inch display here with their virtual cockpit display, and you also have a 14.5-inch center display here, which you can actually change the background of that, which is pretty cool. I have it, Audi has it set as this like haunted house with a pumpkin carving, of course, because it's, you know, just after Thanksgiving in the area here. The new steering wheel, as you can see, I don't love the way it looks. The S6 e-tron had a better looking flat bottom steering wheel with a 3-spoke design. A lot of you complained that you don't like the new Audi logos here, and I can understand why, because the old Audi logos were metallic, they felt really upscale, they looked much better. This is now just a piece of plastic, which looks like it almost has like a sticker covering it. So that to me definitely looks cheap, feels cheap, but I don't hate the way this looks, but I can understand why if you're a purist, you're not gonna like this, so perhaps Audi will redesign the logo at some point. You do have features like a power tilt telescoping wheel. I don't like how big the wheel is. That's where I think the S6 e-tron has a much better looking steering wheel. And I also hate how this screen here, you can see you can't put your GPS functionality in this screen. You can adjust a couple of things to the side here, but it's just not quite as interchangeable as the old system. I have seen the new Q3 e-tron in renderings. I haven't driven one yet, or just the Q3, I'm sorry. That actually allows you to put maps back into the software for the virtual cockpit. Audi says that that update will come to other models with the digital stage at some point, so eventually they're going to address that, but for now, as you can see, this model still doesn't allow you to put the map screen in the actual instrument panel. Now you can see above me there's an augmented reality head-up display, which is also pretty nice. It projects a huge image onto the windshield. You have leather stitching on this upper dashboard material here, which is nice, along with more of that wood grain trim. There's also some faux stitching on the upper portion of the dash here, which also includes contrast. You have some more of that beautiful wood grain trim. This system, as you can see, is pretty quick and snappy, and it's also very easy to use. It has, again, games built in, YouTube built in. You can pull up Amazon Alexa, of course, which is nice, along with your voice commands. This actually has Chat GPT built into it, and it also has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And the system itself is very quick and snappy, so I really appreciate how fast it is. You can also change the exterior light signature. You can change it here from 8 different styles, of course, and you can also adjust the interior ambient lighting. You can even change the lines, the upper lines over here to whatever color you'd like. And you can see it actually shows up there in that interaction light bar. I even can change it to like a Halloween theme here if I want to go to purple and I want to go to orange, which is a nice touch. And then if you also signal right and left, that interaction light bar also functions as a turn signal to let you know that you've left your turn signal on, which is a really great feature. That's something that all the newer Audis are starting to get. I appreciate also the air vents, which are traditional. You adjust them by using this little toggle here, which is nice. You have 2 USB-C charging ports here, and you also have lots of piano black plastic here and this sliding toggle to control the 1-speed transmission. If I push it all the way forward, that puts the vehicle into reverse. It gives you trajectory, distance markers, parking sensors, and you also have a nice top-down view. The quality and the resolution is also great, and you also have some built-in washers, of course, so that's nothing to really complain about. There's also a B mode here to put it into its 1-pedal drive feature. I don't love, again, all this piano black, and some of the panels here you can see could fit a little bit better. This area could have been stitched in leather as well, which would have been nice. This is slightly padded, but it could have been, again, softer and stitched with more leather. Open this up, you can see it's a pretty big center console storage area, which actually this goes really deep in here. So that's pretty impressive how it offers all this additional deep storage here, which you can see fits nicely and hidden in that center console area, which is a nice touch. Now, the seats also have a heat and ventilation function, which works well. The controls are located in the screen here in this bottom portion that never really changes. There's also a thigh extender, of course. There's also a heated steering wheel, which is a nice touch. You have these paddles to control your regen braking. If you don't want to use the 1-pedal drive feature, there's 2 different levels. Open up the glove box, you can see it's damped and it's lined with felt. And if you guys are an audiophile, the 20-speaker Bang & Olufsen stereo sounds banging. You also have 2 speakers in each of the each of the front headrests, which is really great if you guys are, on a call. You can actually hear your phone call a little bit more clear, and it's kind of right in your head, which is a nice touch. But overall, the interior feels more luxurious than some of the lower level Audis with its wood trim and its soft leather. But there are some parts of this interior which I'm just tired of seeing. This digital cockpit or digital stage cockpit has been shown so many times, and Audi keeps basically reusing it in all their new models, which makes it look a little bit dated. I don't like how you can't put maps, but again, that's coming at some point. But overall, it does have a slightly more premium vibe than the last A5 that I tested, which also has the same interior, but it also has even more cheap materials. But let's go ahead and hop into that backseat area. We can show you guys what that space is like. Now, every time you get out of the car, it shuts off because it has a sensor that can sense that. So I have to just push the button there to turn it back on. But if I go to the back seat area, you can see the back seat is also pretty usable. Audi says, surprisingly, there's only 35 inches of legroom back here, 35.2. That's actually 2 less inches versus the gas-powered A6, which I'll be testing again in January. But it certainly is pretty comparable to a lot of its mid-size rivals. Material quality here is the same as the front seat, slightly padded, real leather over here, aluminum accented door handle. Still like an empty button area there. And then you can see nice high quality window controls. It is all cheap hard touch plastic down there, which isn't great. And then you can see the seats back here. You can fold them down to create almost a flat floor, which is nice. Sadly, however, if you're looking for a recline function, those seats don't recline. They also don't slide or anything like that. But getting back here, you can see this is practically my driving position as I shut the door. The floor is not completely flat, which is surprising, but this platform is designed to also accommodate an internal combustion engine. You do have rear seat air vents there on the B pillar, more rear seat air vents here in the center console. You have 3-level heated seats along with your own climate control functionality, which is nice. 2 USB-C charging ports, which are kind of buried all the way down there. You have 2 storage pockets here, which is a nice touch. And you also have these illuminated seatbelt buckles, which is great. This folds down and gives you 2 cup holders, of course, and you have some slightly adjustable head restraints. The headroom space, by the way, this glass roof takes up some space as well, but at 5'7", I have maybe a solid 2 inches of additional clearance. And you can see, I forgot to show you the panoramic roof, which has these interchangeable segments, which you can frost and defrost. You can frost it completely or you can invert them. Looks really cool, but I would have traded this for an opening glass roof. Porsche just revealed the combination of both on the new Cayenne, but overall the interior, the back seat area is certainly usable for families. It's pretty comparable to some of its European rivals, but you are going to get more space from something like a Lucid Air or a Tesla Model S. So Audi has definitely been busy this past year, completely introducing new models or redesigning some older models. And I have to say, after spending some time with a lot of the latest products, there is a lot to like about some of Audi's newer options. However, there's a lot of things to not like as well. This model that we're driving is the first basically premium electric sedan that's more mainstream to the company, is offering this A6 e-tron. I've already had a chance to spend a week with the Q6 e-tron and the S6 e-tron, which is the more high performance version version of this car. This model only makes do with up to 456 horsepower, which Audi claims is good for 0 to 60 in around 4.3 seconds. So let's go ahead and see what we can get on our usual stretch of road here. The car is in dynamic mode. To engage the launch control is pretty easy. You just brake torque it. Oh, this is where it gives you the full 456 horsepower. 3.87 seconds there. Wow, I was not expecting it to be a half a second faster or 0.4 seconds faster than what Audi claims. Remember, the S6 e-tron, which has basically up to 543 horsepower versus, this car's 456, basically 100 more horsepower, will do it in around 3.3 seconds. So you only lose about a half a second in terms of the 0 to 60 performance. So that time should honestly be fast enough for most people. And it kind of begs the question, is it necessary to step up and spend the extra money for the S6 e-tron? Because I think Audi charges like an extra 12 grand for the S6 e-tron. That's a pretty significant amount of money. Now, putting your foot down here, the interesting thing about the A6 e-tron is this is the first available rear drive Audi sedan in so long. I can't even remember the last time Audi offered that. And you can get this vehicle with rear wheel drive, but for the extra $2,000 that my test car has, or is optioned up for the dual motor all-wheel drive, which, to be honest, I think it's worth the extra charge. I mean, you also get more horsepower in addition to the improvement in traction. And overall, it's just a really easy car to live with. It's very balanced because of the battery pack, being low into the floor. It has that perfect 50-50 weight distribution, and the steering in this car is quick and precise, although it has typical Audi numbness here where you don't really feel what the front tires are doing. But in general, the car corners very flatly. It feels very nicely balanced, and it kind of goes around corners and whatnot with an eagerness and just a level of just solidity and something you don't really associate with Audi sedans. It's interesting to kind of feel that in an A6 e-tron. Now remember, Audi's also going to offer this as a gas model, the A6 ICE basically, which has around 362 horsepower with all-wheel drive, a lot less power versus the electric model. And Audi only charges around $1,700 extra to go fully electric. So there's a lot of, different options here from Audi, and I appreciate that. Now, this car also does offer one-pedal drive. It's one of the first Audi EVs to offer one-pedal drive. You basically put it into B mode here, and that's what's going to give you the one-pedal drive. It actually will bring you down to a full stop. If you want, you can basically take it out of one-pedal drive and then adjust the regen braking from the paddle shifters here, which is a nice, touch. I like how Audi's giving people the option to, basically do the one pedal drive or do without the one pedal drive. And it also works fairly well. Even when it's not in one pedal drive mode, the regen braking is there to kind of help slow the car down and put some energy back into the battery. Let's try another run here. It's still in sport mode. Launch activated. Oh, this thing is fast. 3.9 seconds there. So that's with it on perfectly level ground. And I think that time is going to be fast enough for most people. I mean, a lot of EVs are fast. This car offers that quickness that you associate. It's instantaneous, very smooth. It's very comfortable. Also, the ride is so soft in this car. At the same time, it's also not terribly, not sporty. It's actually a relatively nicely balanced, combination between ride and handling. And when you go around corners, this car just feels like it's ready for more. And that's what I liked about the S6 when I drove it. This definitely drives nicer than the last EQE that I tested. It's pretty comparable to the BMW i5. The BMW feels a little bit more sporty, and there's also more visceral dynamics with the BMW because of that iconic sounds that BMW does. Audi doesn't really do any sounds. Instead, you do hear some synthesized sound, but it's very muted. Even when it's in its dynamic mode, you don't really feel it all that much, which is kind of surprising that it's not a little bit louder. But I appreciate how comfortable this car is. It's really quiet. There's not a single squeak and rattle in this interior. The seats are also comfortable. The heated seat function works well. This trim, however, is missing massaging seats. You can get that on the S6, but it's not available on the A6, sadly. But let's try one more 0 to 60 run here. This time I'm not gonna use the launch control because I want to see if that'll give us a slightly slower time. Still feels very quick. 4.11 seconds there. So the launch control shaves around 0.2 seconds off the 0 to 60 time, which is still very good. But it really shows you that all day long you can get a 4-second 0 to 60 time in this car, and you don't even really need to use the launch control, and that's going to be plenty fast. The rear-wheel drive model should probably add around 1.5 seconds to that 0 to 60 time, which honestly is still going to be plenty of speed for most people. In terms of visibility, I can see out of the front and the sides okay. This pillar is thick. The view out of the back is not good. This is where Audi should offer a digital camera review mirror. And then in terms of the real-world range, now on a full charge, this vehicle showed up to 327 miles on it, which is still pretty impressive. Now that 327 that it showed was when I turned off the air conditioning and the heating system. When I turned it back on, it dropped down to 310 miles of range. Now we're basically at 283 miles at 91% state of charge. In my week's worth of testing, I averaged around 280 miles of real-world range, which is still pretty good. This is a little bit more range versus what I got in the S6. However, I have been driving this car in less than ideal conditions. It's been in the upper to low 30-degree temps, so that's obviously going to affect the real-world range. But in general, this car has better real-world range than the BMW i5, and it should have a better range versus the Mercedes-Benz. So this is where Audi really prioritized the range, and this is going to offer between 50 to nearly 100 miles of additional range versus some of its competitors, which is fantastic. Yet you don't really sacrifice this acceleration, the speed. So I like how Audi has kept that. What you do have to sacrifice, however, is the typical Audi style, because this is the most aerodynamic Audi sedan they've offered. It kind of creates this jelly bean shape. And then the tech in this car, you can see it's got wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. I like the way the CarPlay looks here. I still don't think you need the passenger screen over there. It's part of the Prestige package. But what I do like is when you have it in just its, drive modes or in the regular screen, it's very just bold. You can see everything at a glance pretty easily. It's very easy to work with. The CarPlay and Android Auto is also huge. It's very quick and snappy. So lots of, upgrades that Audi has made here. It's just, in terms of luxury, in terms of style on the inside, they're all just starting to look and feel the same. So this is kind of where I'm hoping Audi will eventually do some kind of refresh on this car. In fact, I just heard that the screen for the instrument panel here does allow you, or for 2026 on the Q3, Audi has returned the maps, virtual cockpit maps in the actual display here. So they said that's going to be coming in an over-the-air update on other models that have this digital stage interior. But I will say that this interior is comfortable. It's, it feels premium. It just doesn't feel as luxury as Audi's in the past. But really, the big upgrade is the tech. The tech definitely is a nice improvement. And same thing with the driver assistance stuff. So if you guys favor that, the new A6 e-tron is certainly worth a look. And just remember, even though you may not be a fan of the looks on the outside of this car, it has the acceleration of the BMW, but it also gives you like an extra 50 to 100 miles of additional range. And it also does so at a price that undercuts its rivals. Now, there's no denying the fact that Audi has had quite a busy year, from introducing so many new models like the A5, the Q5, the SQ5, the S5, the S6 e-tron, the A6 e-tron, the Q4, refreshed versions of the Q8, the Q7. The company has been busy trying to completely revitalize their portfolio here in America. And after spending a full week with the all-new A6 e-tron, it's pretty clear that the company wants to appeal to a more mainstream audience with this vehicle. Design-wise, it may not have the same sexiness and style that the e-tron GT gives you. However, it also undercuts that vehicle by about half in terms of its starting price, and it also gives you a car that has some of the best range you're going to find in the segment with its slippery aerodynamic shape. It has an interior which offers far more in terms of technology, with its digital stage cockpit, with its spacious backseat, its spacious cargo area, and the flexibility of the fact that it's a hatchback versus some competitors only giving you a traditional size trunk. Driving-wise, this vehicle also offered pretty impressive acceleration, under 4 seconds to 60, and this isn't even the S model. Keep in mind, the S6 e-tron can shave that time down to 3.3 seconds, which could be worth the extra charge depending on how you look at it and how much equipment you actually prefer to get, because comparably equipped, this can be similar to the base price of an S6 e-tron. And in terms of the real-world range, we got just shy of 300 miles, which isn't as good as the 333 that was promised, but it's also been very cold and chilly in our week worth of testing, and this vehicle, again, has some pretty fast charging. I also really became accustomed to Audi's infotainment system with its new software. I don't love the look of the interior. I also don't like how Audi's basically applying that same dashboard design to all their models. But when you look at the A6 e-tron from this angle, it certainly has those classic Audi proportions with a little bit too much curve thrown in. Again, that's there for aerodynamics because Audi says with an EV, aerodynamics can affect up to 30% of the actual real-world range, which is roughly double that of an internal combustion engine. So EV and aerodynamics is a very important factor, and that's the reason why the A6 e-tron has a more curvaceous look to it. Now, in terms of availability and pricing, this has been on sale since earlier part of this year. And the base price of the rear drive version starts at around $65,900, which sounds pretty reasonable because it's actually cheaper than a BMW i5, which is its closest rival, a Mercedes EQE, which I've heard rumors of Mercedes actually discontinuing that model globally, so it won't be long until they discontinue it here in the US. Also started at around 65 grand. A Lucid Air starts at around $70,000. I just recently had that as well, so it's kind of interesting to compare the two vehicles back to back kind of. And then of course there's the Tesla Model S, which starts at around $95,000. Now obviously if you guys want the Quattro all-wheel drive system, it'll cost you an extra 2 grand, which is still at 68 grand, not bad considering the fact that the e-tron GT starts at around $130,000 for the base version, which again, that's more of a performance-minded vehicle. My test car here is the Prestige package, which adds another $6,000. When you add in the extra charge for the color and destination, you're looking at an as-tested price of $77,240. So 77 grand seems pretty reasonable, especially if you can get a good deal on these vehicles in terms of a lease, in terms of, discounts that Audi dealers may have on it. Also keep in mind, the gas-powered A6 e-tron starts at around 64, or the gas-powered A6. This is the e-tron. The gas-powered one's just the A6, starts at around 64. So Audi only charges around $1,900 extra to go electric, which seems like a no-brainer if you guys want to go electric. Now, obviously, the range at nearly 400 miles also puts it near the top of the class. This one's at 333. Keep in mind, a gas-powered A6 will probably do over 400 miles of range, depending on if you drive mostly in highway or in city driving. Now also keep in mind the S6 e-tron starts at around $78,000, so you get that extra nearly 80 horsepower more for, basically the same price as this. But if you comparably equipped an S6 e-tron with the Prestige package, it's roughly around $88,000. So in reality, Audi charges around 10 grand more comparably equipped. So if you could live with an S6 e-tron with more of a baser package, you could almost get it for about the same price as this vehicle, but they get the extra power. So it's really dependent on whether you want the extra power and less range, or do you want, pretty quick acceleration on its own with a little bit more range. Honestly, 3.9 seconds is probably going to be fast enough for most people. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my very detailed overview on the brand new Audi A6 e-tron. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.